So guys, if you remember, like on the previous session, I think we were discussing about APIs, right? And we have seen like two kinds of APIs. One was the one which we created for ourselves, right? We had a database, right? I mean, we anyhow have database. So we had this one model created for ourselves, right? So using some serializer, we made it a point that we'll get the data which is going to our database or that given table be serialized. So we did have a provision that we got our information, right? Whatever data was there in our table in the form of JSON as well, right? So that means there was a serializer which was acting in between, which was making it a point to convert it, right? So yes, that serializer, understand that it has two purpose. Okay, it's not just for the purpose of converting from from Python to JSON, but even otherwise. Okay, it is for both purpose, that is serialization as well as deserialization. And APIs, consider APIs to be in a simple way. Just understand that APIs is a way of communication. Okay, so you have to fetch data. So the fetching data from another website, you don't do it just like that. The thing that works behind it is more like you send a request, the server to which you are sending the request will respond to your request, and that's how you get the data. Okay, this is all about it. So we have seen like two things, right? Another thing that we saw was this one, which is Git API. So there is a public Git API, okay, which is already in place. So what we did was we made some changes, right? So where was the view? Yeah, here. So what we did was we knew that the only thing which we had to change was the username at the end. So what we did, we took the URL, okay, for the public API, and we have just mentioned that this no username where it should be placed should be the username which the person no gives, okay, whatever the person mentions here in this one, okay, in this given HTML, there is this no as and when they click on the submit button, no, so whatever they are giving in that block, okay, that username is taken into consideration. Okay, and that's how it was working. uh, by the way, tell me one thing, were you people clear with this? Have you people tried it? Hmm? Okay, you can think. By the time I'll do one thing, I will just run it one more time. Okay, so that way, even if you are having some confusion, we'll try to get rid of that. So first thing we have to do is let's have our environment activated. So let me, okay, API env slash scripts slash activate. Okay, my environment is activated. Now where is my project? It is API project. Okay, and now I can run this, right? Python manage .py run server. Okay, so when it is running, we can see what happens. So the first one, which is normal API, was here, right? API app. I think this is the one. Is it? Yeah. So can you see this is the one that we created with respect to our model, right? So what all things we did back then, if you remember, it was like we created first of all a model, right? This was the first thing we did. Now if you have to access there, you have to even go for registering it in the admin, right? So this was the next thing that we did. Since you created a new model, you have to run two commands. One is the make migrations, another one is the migrate command. So which is like, I mean, that these are the rules you have to follow when you're dealing with models. Okay, and then now comes the serialization part. Okay, so if you look at this, there is an option to even get the JSON form of your data, right? So that means there is a way that the data can be converted in a different format. Okay, so now if I want to take this data to some other website, or some other website is going to request me for some given data, so I can send it in this form, right? I can do that. So frankly speaking, this is all happening because of what? Because there is something called the serializer, and serializer is doing two-way process. Okay, it is not just for serializing, it is even for deserializing. Okay, so if you look at this, where we have the serializer, again, remember that these file names are like critical. Okay, you cannot change the names. You have to keep it as it is. Okay, case it is all case sensitive, and even the namings are like standards. Okay, you cannot change it according to your wish. And also remember that these serializers are part of the REST framework. Okay, so if you want to use this, you have to install the Django REST framework. And when you install Django REST framework, the next thing that you have to do is positively go to the settings file. Okay, and here, if you look at the install labs, you have to include this. Okay, the REST framework. Because if you look at the fact, if I go to the serializers, can you see you are doing the import? Okay, what you are importing serializers. Frankly speaking, whenever you are making use of the like something like serializers or something like forms, you might have seen that in most of these cases, or even when we go for models, in all these cases, what you are actually trying to do is you are trying to make use of the inheritance concept. Okay, so the inheritance concept, why you are using? Mainly because of the fact that the superclass, okay, the superclass that you are referring to is having some features, okay, which you want to have in your given code. Okay, you want to just make use of it, and that is actually the purpose of the frameworks, right? You're not going to create anything from scratch, you're going to make use of something which is pre-existing. So here also already there is some model serializer, okay, which has got some basic structure. You are making use of it. Okay, so all that you are doing is you are the thing that you are changing here is that the model that you're referring to. You are referring to the model that you have in your given project. Okay, and what all fields you are taking into consideration, like what all fields you want to convert. Okay, so that is what you are mentioning over here. Then what we did, we had serializers, then we went for views. Now, when you go for the REST framework, okay, oh, now this view is not the one. Okay, we have view for this given project, right? Yeah, this one. Uh, okay, so if you look at this, what we went for was a class-based view. Okay, now again, understand class-based view is again something which is coming from the REST framework. Okay, and in REST framework, you have a collection of class-based views. Okay, which is generally used for some typical functionalities. Okay, which is having some given functionalities. So those collection is what we consider as, or what we call as the generics. Okay, so generics are basically having a collection of class-based views, which is particularly being used for the APIs. Okay, frankly speaking, the REST framework itself is for the sake of APIs. Okay, so what we have here, again, understand these two parameters, no, query set and the serializer class. Okay, these two parameter, the names are standard, you cannot change it. Okay, these two names, query set as well as this parameter, that is serializer class. Okay, again, you might have seen that here also again inheritance is coming in picture. So this is a name that you are providing for your class based view, which is a subclass one list API view, which belongs to the generics. Okay, and if you see, generics is being imported from REST framework. Okay,
So here, why we are not using self parameter?
self, when do we use self?
When we create an object?
Yeah, when we are referring to some object, that's when we use self parameter. Here I'm not referring to any particular object. Okay, here if you look at this point, no, This is actually trying to access all the objects, in the sense all the entries in a given table. Okay, it's not going for any given object. Okay.
Okay.
Now sometimes when we have no like as I told you earlier, I had given you an example, right, for this one. What do I say? The mobile phone, right? I mean, in that, if I consider the contact list as the class, and if I consider that each contact to be an object, so if you see, when I have to make a call to a given person, I have to click on that person's name, right? And then I make a call. But if I am going to do like, I mean, all I have to do is simply list all the contacts. I don't need to do anything, right? I don't need to go for any specific thing, but rather I'm going for a common or general list. Okay, there I don't need to pinpoint on any given object. Okay, so here also it is the same. I'm going to list all the objects or all the entries that is made to the database. So I don't need to go for that. Okay. uh, yeah, so here then that was all, because I mean, the class based view. Yeah, one more difference that you would find is in the URL. Okay, the mapping, how you do it. Yeah, here, if you look at this, there is a change, right? Earlier, all you used to do was views dot, you mentioned the view name, right? Here, there is some addition, okay? And this is something which comes with class-based view, okay? So you put it this way. If you have some confusion regarding this, no, please make sure that you are referring to this one, okay? So if you look at the project's URL file, no, there is a mention of both class-based view as well as, if you look at this, there is even mention for function-based view, okay? Just see. So you can see how it is being mentioned. Okay. But frankly speaking, though we made use of class-based view, again, you didn't have to create anything from scratch. You basically were doing, I mean, making use of the inheritance. Okay, right? I mean, we didn't do, we hardly wrote any code. And frankly speaking, you didn't even have to create any HTML page also, right? And still you were getting a very good view, right? This is so, I mean, this looks really good, right? This one. I didn't create any HTML file, but still I got this much and it looks good, right? But frankly speaking, no, you can get additional functionalities. I mean, you don't need to do this way. You can even get like further functionalities. Okay. I mean, just using the class-based view, you could get one functionality which was listing the objects, right? This is basically listing the object, because these are all the individual objects or individual entry that you have in your table, right? So you are getting that. But what if you can get all the functionalities, all the CRUD operations? Okay, here all you get is this one, right? Get option. Do you remember what is the corresponding CRUD operation? Forget? No?
Yes. Create, read, update, delete. This one.
Yeah, that is like you are telling all of them. I was asking like for specifically. Okay, wait, let me just mention it. So this is CRUD operation. Okay, so if you go for the corresponding HTTP request, okay, so you will find that create is nothing but post. Okay, if you go for you will find that there are like two ways of using R. Okay, you will find read in some documents, you will find retrieve. Okay, both means one or the same anyhow. So retrieve, in place of retrieve, what you have is get. Okay, the HTTP request would be, or the HTTP option, okay, for this same thing. Okay, read or retrieve is nothing but get. Here then what we have, update, right? Update, the corresponding action would be, there are actually two. One is put. Okay, and generally you will be using put. Okay, so you do one thing, you people can just look at what is patch. I can tell you briefly, but I would like if you can try it. Okay, Then there is what we call delete. Okay, delete is same as delete. There is no difference. Okay, so if you see, these are like the create, read, update, delete. These are the options that you find in case of databases. Okay, when you talk in terms of databases, these are the terminologies that you would be using. Okay, at the database level. Okay, and these are like the corresponding HTTP like, how should I say, HTTP protocol or command, what you call. Okay, so these are those. Okay, so if you say create, this is the one. Okay, it would say post in HTTP. Okay, read or retrieve would be nothing but get. Update is nothing but put or patch. Now put is something like if you have an overall update, if you have just partial update, you go for patch. Okay, delete is something same as delete. Okay, there is no difference. So now when we say get, okay, if you remember the view we had. Okay, here if you look at the view we had is for list API view. Okay, so listing whatever is there. Okay, when you say listing, you basically are trying to get. Okay, and getting also, how you are getting, you are going to get a list view. Okay, in the sense you are trying to get everything that is there in your table, not just single elements, but rather everything. But frankly speaking, there are so many things, right? You can perform, I mean, you can perform all these actions, right? um, Now I'll ask you one thing. If you can do all of this using a single view, would you prefer that or this one? Hmm? I mean, you have done CRUD operations, right? Back then you had to create 4 different views in order to get the CRUD operations to be done. And this time ahead, you just wrote 2 lines and you could get one of the things done, which was read. Okay, and that too, one kind of read, that is basically listing all the elements in your database, or sorry, in your given table. Okay, now there is one more way, that is read is for even specific elements also you can go for read, right? So what if I say that you do have a provision, you can go for it using a single view. Okay, now the view that I'm talking about is not a simple view. Okay, so there is another concept that comes in picture. Okay, if you look at this, there is yeah, there is another concept, which is view sets. Okay, now view sets are like, again, class based view. Okay, the thing is, when you go for the class based view, or say the view set, in this case view set is again like you have like multiple views taken into, I mean, it is all taken in a single view, and it has like multiple functionalities. Okay, it's not just going to do a single function, but rather it has multiple functionalities. Okay, so I can make use of a single view set, and I can do all the operations that a CRUD application can provide me. So this is much better, right? And another thing about view set is, can you see, along with view set, there is one more term which is coming in picture, that is routers. Now, what is this router? Okay, so it is something like, you see, when you have I mean, when you go for creating a view, you generally I mean, the next thing that you do is URL mapping, right? But now here you don't need to do that. Okay, basically you don't need to create separate views. Okay, rather what you will be doing is, you will try to, I mean, router is again a class. Okay, and what you do is, you create a view set, you will register it with the router class. Okay, once you do that, okay, here you will find that where is the router. Once you do that, you don't need to no, like, you don't need to create any URLs. It will actually do it for you. Routers are for that purpose. Okay, so here you can see user classes rather than view classes. So we actually don't need to design the URL conf ourselves. The conversion or the conventions for wiring up resources into views and URLs can be handled automatically using router class. Okay, so that is what we are going to do. So whenever you have view set is basically going to help you with doing multiple functionalities, and you don't need to make use of any URL configuration, which you generally you would be doing, right? URL mapping. You don't need to do that here. All you have to do is you have to register your view set with respect to a router, and you can get it done. Now it all seems like too much, right? I mean, like so many things are going to happen, and how is it going to happen, right? So what we'll do is in the same application, we'll try to implement this. Okay, I mean, I'm not going to create anything new. There is already a model in hand, right? And there is already something created which was nothing but a class-based view. Here itself, I'm going to create another thing which is going to be a view set. I'm going to import one new view set. Okay, and using that, I'm going to create a new view set. Actually speaking, you will find one thing, that is whenever we are going for the views class-based view, okay, class-based view or view set, you actually mainly are using it so that you take advantage with respect to the inheritance concept. Okay, so already there are some which is pre-created, you can make use of it. So what we have to do first is import. Okay, so let's do that. Here only REST framework, we can import what we call view set. In fact, view sets. Yeah. Okay, and let's create a view set. Now again, as I said, it's again a class-based view set. Okay, so yeah, let's give some name. So employee underscore, or I can just put it directly also, view set. Okay, now this name is all what you are providing. Okay, so this is something you can do. Whatever you are mentioning inside, no, that is where you need to pay attention. So it is going to be view sets dot, there is something like model. Yeah, model view set. Okay, and here also all you have to do is provide these two parameters. Okay, so let's provide them. Okay, done with this. Okay, let me save this. See, all I did was what? Just created a view set. I mean, created it as a subclass for model view set, which is belonging to view sets, and provided those two parameters, wherein I'm not going to create a new serializer. I'm going to make use, or say reuse, the same serializer. Okay, so wherever I need the JSON data, or wherever there is a requirement for conversion, it's all going to be done using the same serializer which I already have. Okay, and now what I'm going to have is I need to have a router. Okay, now if you see, generally what they do is they define a router. Okay, in the project URL. Okay, you can do it in even the app one. Okay, that there is no hard and fast rules, but then again we can just follow this way. Okay, I mean, there is nothing wrong with this, so let's do it this way itself. Okay, all we have to do is, let me first of all find the, yeah, here. Okay, I have to, since you remember, right, the view set is again coming inside the views, right, which is belonging to my app. So I have to first of all have it. So I can mention from my app name is what, API app. Okay, import views, right. Now I can just mention here itself, I have to have my router. Now remember, again, routers again come from the REST framework, right? So it has to be imported. So from REST underscore framework, oh, it is coming, import, yeah, routers. Okay, once you have your routers in place, the next thing that you have to do is you have to create, okay, a subclass of, actually not subclass, you have to create the object, actually object for the router, and not just any router, but the default router. So I can actually even no import, I could have imported default routers here. Okay, I could have done that directly, but anyhow, it doesn't matter. So I have the object name also as router, which is going to be an object for routers dot default, yeah, router. Okay, so you have to do it this way. You create an object, okay, for this default router. Okay, so you know how you create object, right? Now what you have to do is you have to register, okay, you have to register your view set with respect to this object that you have created here. Okay, so let's do that. The way you do it is router dot register. Remember this name what you're mentioning over here, no? This is same as this one. Okay, so if you have mentioned some other name, make sure you are mentioning the same thing over here. Okay, so here I can mention, next thing is R, and okay, just have a look. Okay, there is a R, small r mentioned over here. And what was my model name? It was employee or something, right? So I can just provide some name. Okay, it doesn't matter what name I'm providing. It is just going to be like how should I say, like a starting point from where I can access all my APIs. Okay, so yeah, I can mention it this way itself. So employee API. Okay, and now I need to mention the view set. Okay, so views dot, what was my view set name? Okay, yeah, this one. Okay, so this is about registering. So till now what I've done, I have registered my given view set with the router, okay, which I have created. Now what I need to do is, now this router has to be mentioned inside my URL pattern. Okay, so all you need to do is path. Inside path you can mention some name. Okay, so it can be what, API Git API. So what can I give here? Maybe just API. Okay, again this names are all something which you are choosing. Okay, that is really up to you what you are going to give. Include, and here you need to mention this. Okay, so router dot URLs. So remember that if you see, we are not creating any URLs by ourselves, but it is going to be created, okay, by router itself, and that too, it is going to be created automatically. Okay, we don't need to do anything, we don't need to bother at all. Okay, so yeah, that's it, done with this. Let's save this and see for ourselves like how exactly is this router going to create these URLs that it is claiming to, right? So let's save this. Okay, thankfully I didn't stop the server. Okay, so I can just directly go for it. And I want to do one more thing, that is, okay, let me can I close this? If you permit me, I'll just close this. Okay, okay, anyhow, first thing is, okay, uh, let me, okay, let's follow the link. Okay, and I wanted like one more page. Okay, so that I can access the database, and we'll see, okay, whatever changes we are trying to do. I mean, I told you, right, all the CRUD operations we can perform, right? So if that is the case, I want to perform some CRUD operations at my API level, and I want to see whether the corresponding changes are happening at the admin page in the given table, right? Otherwise, how I can just verify whether things are working the way I'm expecting it to. So this is my employee table. Okay, fine. Now let's see how it appears. Okay, remember one thing, okay, that is, we haven't created any no HTML file, right? We didn't create any HTML file, we don't have any templates, and still we have something, right? We have a page to look into, right? And this is something which I didn't design, and hopefully even you didn't design, right? uh, do you find some difference here? compared to the previous example. In the previous case, we were directly going, right? But here, because we have the router in place, can you see? This is something which I didn't create, but it is being created, okay? So if you look at this, this is the normal thing, right? What you find here, right? So after API, what you find this one, this is the name which with which I have made the registration, right? Just let me make it this way. So can you see this is the name here, right? And the same thing you find it over here, right? So let me just do one thing. Let's click here. Let's see what we have further. So you can see this, right? Do you find any change in options that is available to you? Or is it the same thing? Do you find any difference at all? And
You can
remember
add
that I told that, yeah,
more entries,
I can add more.
post, right?
Oh, so because this is there, okay, I'm fine, that is there. So here also you can see, right? Earlier I only had get option, now I have post. But don't you feel a bit cheated? Because I said that there is going to be all the options, right? But here again you have only two options, which is get and post, right? This is cheating, right? Isn't it? And yeah, we do have the, I mean, we do have access to the JSON version also. Anyhow, but that's not the thing. The thing is, we should have got some other options as well, not just post. Okay, anyhow, we can do one thing. We can check this one option at least. Okay, so name, I can just give some name, right? Contact number, something, country. Um, anyhow, I cannot even think. Okay, so it's working, right? What happened the moment I gave it? It has created something, right? It has created some new entry. So with an ID which is 5, you remember, right? ID is not something which we have to provide, but it is auto-generated, right? So yes, my this ID is being provided, and the entry seems to be created, right? So even we can check here. Let's refresh it. So it is created, right? This entry, which I just mentioned over there, it is getting created here. So that means API is functioning, right? Okay. So let's see whether we can go back. Okay. So now it is appearing over here, right? Now let me do something. Okay. And do you remember generally how we used to access some given element, some given entry? We used to mention something, right? What did I mention over here? Can you see there is a, like, I mean, I did some changes over here, so I got something, right? Can you tell me what is this number that I've mentioned over here?
Primary key.
It is the primary key, or you can call it the ID. The ID is nothing but the primary key for this given table. In fact, for every table, right? So I just mentioned the primary key and I was able to access. But do you remember the moment we had worked on the CRUD operation, right? When we were doing that, that time I had to specifically create the view such, I mean, the URL mapping I had to do that way, right? Like whenever I mentioned that the view after that, if int pk, if I mentioned that, then it should be navigating to that, right? That kind of URL mapping we had to do it, right, specifically. But here I didn't create this URL mapping is not done, right, from my end at least. So then who is doing it? Now do you understand why routers are good? Because
Yes.
frankly speaking, if I had to actually do like so many URLs, if I had to create in order to perform, I mean, in order to be able to see some specific element, or if I want to see the list of elements, it would have been like too much, right? Like, I mean, I had to basically do so many URL mappings. But this time ahead, I didn't do anything. All I did was I registered my view set with the router, and the router was being mentioned in the URL pattern. That's it. And see, I'm able to access even individual elements. And please do make sure to notice that there are some changes. Do you find any changes now in the options that is available to you? Do you find any new change?
Yes.
There's back, delete.
There is delete here, right? And even notice here as well. Is it the same?
Put.
Earlier what you had was post, right? Now you have put. And do you know why you are having put here? Anybody who can say this? Like why exactly we are having put over here? Why we didn't have it like in the list of elements? No, when we were looking at the list of elements, that time we didn't have this, right? The moment I went for an individual element, that's when I'm able to get it, or say individual object. Can somebody tell me why? No?
Because we are updating.
Update.
Okay. Now remember one thing. Do you remember that even in case of CRUD operations, every operation didn't require me to have the knowledge of the ID or the primary key, right? But there were some operations which required that. So now if you look at update you do for a given object, okay? Delete you do for a given object, or when you when you have to get the details of a given object, that's when you have to mention that given object's ID, okay? But if you are going for a list of objects, or if you are going to add some new element, you don't need to know the ID, right? Okay, that's the reason you didn't have the ID when you just went for the list. Now here everything is having a different ID. You don't need to know any specific ID to access this page. Okay, and here they cannot mention any given data, because when there are so many data which is given, they cannot give you an option for put. Okay, but instead if you go for a given individual data, right, individual entry, say for example this one, okay, I do have a provision to change this, because now this is an individual entry. I can no I can delete it, I can update it, I can do like I can get the details, specific details for just a given entry. I can do that, right? So understand that this is all because of the fact that there are some operations where you require the ID, but in some operations you don't, right? Some operations are like where you don't require, is one is post, in the sense, one, when you create some new entry, you don't need to provide ID. Second is when you're going for a list of entries, okay? That time also you don't need to specifically provide any ID. Okay, so now let me see whether I can make some changes, but I don't want to delete the first entry. Okay, so let's do for some random 4 or something, right? Okay, so let's do that 4. Okay, I'll go for 4th entry. Let's what do you want? Let me first update it. Okay, here okay, let's Arti be from Nepal. Arti, sorry, it is Akriti. Okay, so put, so it seems to have changed. We can even check in here. Okay, so let's okay, go to Akriti. Can you see it is getting updated over here as well? Now again, let's go back and let's try to see whether this is working or not. Okay, so if I try to delete it, so it is asking me whether do I want to delete it. Of course I do. So I deleted it. So once I deleted it, so you cannot see anything over here, and you cannot even find, yeah, nothing is there, right? Earlier, do you observe one thing? Whenever earlier when post was sorry, put option was appearing, it was a pre-filled form, right? It was showing whatever was there previously, right? I mean, say for example, I'll show you for some other entry. Okay, if I go for this one, okay, just see, do you see it is a pre-filled form? When you go for a post operation, you might have seen that it is a empty form, right? If I go for like complete list, no, here. Can you see? This is empty form. So do understand that there is like minor difference. The form looks almost the same, but when you go for put operation, you are basically trying to change something which is already existing in your table. And when you're going for post operation, you are trying to create something which is not at all existing. Okay, you're creating something fresh, something new. Okay, so please notice the minor details here. There are like some few details that you need to remember, but do remember, try to remember. So wherever no, you can get things in a, the operations which are common, which can be common without you being, no, like you going for any specific element, you can get those things directly here, okay? And when something is concerned with a specific element, you were getting it, but you had to go for a corresponding entry, right? Okay. And tell me one thing, have you people tried to explore the Postman? Did you?
Literally.
No. Okay. And you at least you people understood this, right? How it is working. And do
Yeah,
you find
I
that
just
it
have
is so
one
useful,
question.
right? I mean, using view set over even class-based view was like good compared to a function-based view. Class-based view was giving us some advantage, but when we went for the view set, it is giving like too many advantage, which even view or class-based view was also not able to give, right? Here we had so many other advantages, like we were getting. Remember, just try to recollect the CRUD operation that you performed earlier. You basically created like 4 views, right? 4 function-based views and the number of lines of codes. Do you remember? And if you remember, for each one of the operation that you had there, you had to create a separate HTML file. As of now, you didn't create any HTML file. You didn't create, you didn't have that many lines of code. All you had to do was to create a subclass, that's all, and your thing was done. And since you are concerned with view set, what you did was you had to make use of routers. Okay, that's all was the difference here. And even you can test this using the Postman. Okay, that also we can just try. So I'll just copy this. Okay, and here is my Postman. I don't want the release notes or anything. I can mention it here. So this is the previous one what we had, right? So let me see. I can, and you have seen, right, what all things you can do with this. Can you see? I can get the IDs. I can get the list view. Okay. And if I go for doing any other operation, was I able to do that? Post not allowed. If I go for put, it was coming as not allowed. Remember that this is not the current one, okay? This is the previous one, okay? We had. So if you remember, it was only allowing me for list API view, right? So I'm only getting the list view. I'm not able to, or I'm not authorized for any of the other operations, okay? Now let's have the the current this one, okay, API that we have just created. So we have it here. Now let's see what all we can do. So first thing, let's go for get. So you get all the entries, okay? So yeah, this is working. If I go for any individual element, I can get that too. So I can do that, see? So I can mention any of them and I still get it, right? For you remember I told you one thing, that is primary key, about primary key. It is not getting reassigned, okay? So the moment I deleted it, it is saying that it is not found, but then it is not going to reassign it to any new entry, okay? The primary key remains unique, okay? Now what we can do, you can even check the other operations that you have. So first, let me see whether do we have any entry. Yes, we have. I can try to delete from here. So, okay, it is gone. So if I look at the get, no, I can find out. Okay, so it is saying not found. So that means it is deleted. Okay, and if I want to change something, okay, put, and let's make it maybe the third one. Okay, if I want to change this one, so there is one way of changing it. Okay, so one way of changing it is from here itself, you can do it. Okay, so how we can do it? Okay, if I go for this, I can just change here itself. Okay, so you know already what all parameters you have to change. You have a contact number, you had name, right? Name, contact number, and country, right? These were the three things you had. I can just mention those things: contact underscore number, and here I can just mention country. Okay, and I can just give some values over here. So contact number, I can make it as, okay, and country, I can change it for, okay, maybe this. Okay, and then I have put, and let me send this. Can you see? Now it has changed. Okay, now if I go for get operation, no, and if I look at all the list, you can find the changes. Okay, so if I look at the ID 3, can you see? So all I did was go for body form data. Okay, and this one, you just need to provide the key value. So if you mention the key, what all keys are existing in your table, and you mention value, like what value it should be taking, it will do. Okay, and even using this, you can even go for post also. Post operation also you can perform. So here, okay, and let me change this. And here, what can I mention? Maybe, okay, and I'll go for post operation. Now remember, when I'm going for post operation, I don't need to give ID. Okay, so if I just send this, can you see? It has created with a new ID. Can you see this? With this, I think we have done like almost all operations, right? We have tried deletion, we have tried updation, we have tried the creation, right? Right, we have done all of them. Create and read also we have done like multiple times, right? So create, read or retrieve, update, okay, and delete. I want you people to check or say find out how this is done. Patch, okay, please do find out like how to perform patch. The rest of the things also you can just no experiment. I mean, there is nothing wrong with exploration, right? But then again, since these are the main ones, right? Till get, post, put, patch, and delete. So these are the main ones. So make sure that you find patch. We have already seen get, post, put, and delete, right? Do you people have any confusion with whatever we have done till now, or is it clear? Like if you have to do it, will you be able to do it?
I just have one doubt.
Which one?
When you created routers, they automatically create URL based on ID, right?
Yes.
Yeah. What if you want to create URL based on name?
It generally, you see, name and all, no, is not actually like I mean, you know, right, by default it is auto generated, or how should I say, it is automatically taking ID as the primary key. And remember that when you go for the tables, no, I mean database or tables which are existing in a database, they actually go for the unique one or the primary key when they refer to some given element, no. The way of like accessing the elements is through the ID. Okay, I mean, you
But what
consider
if
this
the
similar to a
I
dictionary.
got it. Yeah, I got it. But what if we have our own set of unique IDs? Usually we have our own data sets with their own unique
Mm-hmm.
IDs.
Mm-hmm.
And these unique IDs are also used in other applications, not just our website, right? So
Mm-hmm.
you want it to be, URL extension slash, that unique ID, not the
Mm-hmm.
one that is generated by our database, but the one that is given to us by that original data set,
Then
right?
no, I think when as and when you are going for the make migrations, no, that time what
Mm.
script is getting created. If you make changes there itself, no, things can be done as per you.
But in the router, how we have the option to tell the router to create URL based on this other attribute instead of the ID
No, you
attribute?
have to do it. The changes should start from there itself. It's not like no, like partially your database is considering the ID which it is generating, and partially when it comes to router, you have to go for a different ID. Don't do it that way. Okay, that doesn't make sense. You should do it from the beginning
Okay.
itself. Okay, there
Okay.
itself while
So,
creating the database, no, that
no,
given table, no, yeah.
yeah. So when you are putting the values in the table, that time itself the ID should be based on that unique ID, right? It should not be that
Yes.
auto-generated ID. Okay.
Mhm. No, yeah, that time itself, you should go for that. Okay, and then you can put some auto increment or something. That way, you can even make it a point that it gets automatically generated for no new ones, new entry, whatever you're doing. So right, when we go for tables, you do have a provision that you can auto increment the primary key. So if you have
Right,
some
right.
other IDs that you have, okay, in mind, you can go for that. It's just that you have to keep it like from the very beginning. It should not be like for some given application you want it this way, for some other operation you want it that way. You cannot do it that way. Okay, you have to keep it like constant. Okay, you get the point,
Okay.
right?
Okay.
Mhm. Are all of you clear like how we did put, post and all, right? So all you have to do is in body form data. Okay, to go for form data and you mention your key, mention whatever value you want to give. Okay, and you can send the request. So if you want post, you mention that and send the request. If you want to go for put, remember that put is something which is for some specific one. Make sure that you provide the ID. Okay, ID over here, and then you make the changes and you send, so it will work. Okay, so just remember for which operations you need to provide the ID. Okay, and that time you provide the ID and those things will work. And also remember, once you have deleted something, you cannot do anything about it. Okay, and that ID is also going to remain with that. Okay, you cannot reuse it. So whatever other entry you have to delete or change, make sure that you know the ID of that, then you do it. Okay, till here it is clear to all of you. Hmm?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, then what we have next is, yeah, one other interesting topic I have for you people. So let me just close this. Now tell me, how many of you are aware of triggers? Do you know in databases, no, there is a concept of trigger. Do you know that? Anybody? Anybody who has worked with databases? Do we have anyone like that? No? Okay. Okay, so let me tell you about triggers. The thing is, the reason I'm going for trigger is because there is a concept of signals. Okay, in case of Django, there is a concept of signals. Okay, now what is these signals? It is like whenever we perform some operation on a given table. Okay, so in table, what all operations can happen, right? So if you talk about a table, you can create some new entry, right? Or you can delete some entry. So basically, you just think of these two operations for time being. So when you create some entry, there are like some signals like pre-save, okay? Pre-save then post save, post save. These signals are generated, okay? And in the same manner, when you delete some entry, pre-delete, okay, as well as after you have like done the action, it will have post delete, okay? So these are some signals which are sent by the given table, okay? So remember that when we talk about signals, there are like three things that comes in picture. Just think about a normal signal, okay? Normal signal in the sense, if you're talking on a phone, right? So consider that whatever you're talking, no, that consider that to be your signal, okay? So if you're talking to someone, first thing is that there is a sender, right? If you're talking, so you become the sender, right? And if the other person is listening, that person becomes the receiver, right? And the signal is whatever you are transmitting, right? Okay. Now, another thing that you require here is the device, right? So that means there should be a connection, right? So the major things, no, when we are talking about signals are, one is sender, then we have the signal itself, okay, signal, then we have the receiver, okay, and we can have call one more thing, that is the connection, okay. So these are the major things that we require when we talk about signals, okay. Now, as I said, that these signals, okay, these signals are something which is generated by the table, okay. So the moment when you are going to save some new data, okay, you made some new entry, okay, and you haven't yet saved it, okay. So before you save it, there is a signal which is being sent. In the same manner, once you have saved some entry, again a signal is sent. Okay, so there is a pre-save signal which is getting sent. There is a post-save signal which is getting sent. In the same manner, when you are going to delete something, there is a pre-delete signal which is getting sent. There is a post-delete signal which is getting sent. Okay, the sender for all this is the table. Okay, the table that you are concerned with is going to be the sender here. The signal is these signals, okay, pre-save, post-save, pre-delete, post-delete, okay. So these are the signals that we are talking about here. Receiver is like a function, okay. You write a function, okay, which acts like a receiver. Connection can be actually done in two ways, okay. One way of doing connection is to make use of a method which is like connect, okay. There is a connect method. This is one way of using it. Other way of using it is through decorator, okay. So there is receiver decorator, okay. So we make use of this, okay. Generally you will find that this is the one which is used, but then again we can see like how this is written, okay. So don't worry about that. Now why I brought this trigger in place, that you should know, right? So nobody who has worked with tables or databases, especially a relational one, no? Okay. The thing is, sometimes you might have seen that there are times when you want to perform some corresponding action. Whenever something happens, no, some corresponding action should be performed. It doesn't make sense, right? Okay. In the sense, okay, when you are hungry, that's when you have to have food, right? It's not like when you are, I mean, full, that time you don't want food, right? So in the same manner, something is no, like there is a corresponding action for a given issue or a given action. So when you are hungry, that's when you have food. In the same manner, another example, in if you see a real-time basis, if I have to give, consider, okay, consider you are doing some online shopping, okay. So when you are doing online shopping, you did some online transaction, right? So the moment you did some transaction, some money got deducted from your account, right? So the moment the money got deducted from your account, so you want some corresponding change to appear in your balance, right? It shouldn't be like your balance remains the same, even though money got deducted, but still your balance is same. It doesn't work that way, right? So the moment there is a deduction, okay, deduction based on your or you say you made some purchase, okay, so purchase should even show deduction in your balance, right? Now these are like something which should work in hand, right? The moment you make a purchase, when the moment you are charged with something, okay, so it should do some corresponding action, right? Right. So this is what I mean by the trigger. So there are something called triggers, okay? So in your code, you can write, I mean, if you come across databases, no, this is one of the concepts that you have in databases. So if you have some banking related table, okay, I mean, you are working in a banking environment, you have some tables which is keeping track of the amount, okay, especially maybe same thing, like, okay, so you have customers, right? So they will do online transactions and all. So you want that the moment they do some purchase or some transaction, the corresponding change should happen in their balance, okay? So accordingly, you have like some two tables, okay? One table which is keeping track of the transactions, another table which is keeping track of the balance, okay? So you want that whenever there is a change in this given table, the corresponding change should happen in this table, okay? And you have mentioned the criteria that the change in the purchase, okay, I mean the change in the transaction or the amount which you are like which is getting deducted from the given account should also appear in the balance, okay, something like that, okay. In the same manner, you sometimes get credit, right? When you get a salary, that time you are getting credited, some money is getting credited in your account. In the same manner, that time your balance should increase accordingly, right? So these are like where you require a trigger, which is going to perform some corresponding action when some given thing happens, okay. So signals are also used for the same thing, okay. So sometimes if you do have a like, I mean, you want to perform some given task, maybe it is as simple as printing some message, okay. Something happened, like some new entry is added in your table, you want that it should trigger, or it should just generate a message saying that okay, this entry is created. So that's also an action, right? So you do have a provision to do it. All you have to do is your function, right? This receiver function that you are going to use, okay? That should perform that corresponding action. So you will mention that at the moment this receiver has received some given signal, okay? It should perform this. Yeah, there is one more catch over here, and that is receivers know it is going to be separate. In the sense, if you have like 4 signals, you have to write 4 different functions, okay? And then again, if you have these 4 signals for maybe 4 other tables, no, then again you have to write different receiver function. The reason is when you are writing the receiver function, no, you have to mention the sender. So if the table is going to change, you cannot use the same receiver function. And in the same manner, you cannot use the same receiver function for different signals, okay? It is like specific. This receiver function should only take the signals from pre-save, but this receiver function should only take the post-save signals, okay? And they are like mentioned that way, okay? Understood? It is like you are creating a kind of channel, okay. So this only can receive this kind of signals. You know, right, in your like mobile phones there is this radio, right? Radio frequencies. So the moment you channelize the given, you tune the frequency, you get only signal from that given channel, right? You don't get from some other channel, right? Sometimes there might be some interference, but then you have to tune the frequency correctly, right, in order to get the given signal, right? So here also the same concept applies. You cannot get different signal in a given channel, okay, or a given receiver cannot receive multiple signals. So since this was the theory part, and even you can find the same thing in your official one, okay, signals in Django. So you can find that, okay, document. But this was actually a brief of what you are going to get there. So this was the theory part. We'll do one thing, we'll create some signals and we'll try to understand it, okay? So over with the theory part, let's come to the practical side. At least tell me one thing, did you people understand? Because no, since you're not reacting, I'm not getting. No reaction.
Signals is very new to me. So
You people have not come across the triggers concept either, is it? None of you have worked with the tables or what? I mean, like databases. Nobody.
I worked with SQL and all, but we never had triggers in SQL.
Yes.
Is it? Okay. I think I even have some document also, maybe for trigger, but I just wanted, like, if you know that concept, no, like it was easy for you to understand the purpose of signal. That's why I took that point. But anyhow, okay. Okay, let me create a new environment. Okay, Python -m module is venv, and the environment name, let it be sig-env. What I'm going to do, no, I'm not going to create any model or anything. I'll make use of the model that I already have, which is the user model. Okay, so as and when I create some new user, if this is going to react, it is good. Then, oh, did I do something? Again, I did something. I think I always do the same mistake, right? By now, I should have at least tried to avoid this. Never mind, happens. Okay, since I told you, right, signals are going to be sent by tables, right? So, right, tables means model, right? So the signals, no, you will find that these are generally defined in the models.py file. Now tell me one thing, do you find models, I mean, where do you find models.py file? Is it part of the project or is it part of the app? App, right? Yeah, so let's create a project first, then we'll create an app. But before I create any of these things, first let's activate this one. So sig env slash scripts slash activate. Okay, activated this one. Now I should install pip install Django. Okay, let it get installed first. It takes time, right? Okay. Once it gets installed, the next thing that I have to do is I'll create the app. Oh, sorry, I have to create the project, right? I haven't created project itself. So after installing Django, I'll create the project, then I'll create the app. Then I'll, what should be the next thing? Once you create any app, no? What should be the next thing?
To register that into the
Yes.
installed apps.
Yes, we have to like mention, I mean, we have to make our project aware. Okay, this app is belonging to you. You have to take responsibility. Okay, so yeah, we do that. Next, so Python. Okay, Python manage.py I cannot do right now. So Django admin start project. And what is my project name? It can be sig signal project. Okay. All I want to do is, even after years, if I look at this now, I should understand what is it related to. So yeah, now I have a project, so I can get inside that signal project. Next time I'll keep small name. Okay, signal project. Now here I can run the Python manage.py, and I can create an app, start app. App name can be sig app. Okay, now this is small. Okay, done with this. So immediately, no, some things no should be done immediately, though it doesn't matter here, but then again we'll no follow the rules. So where are my install apps? Yeah, here I'll mention my app name, which is sig app. Okay, this is done. Let's save this. Yeah, I also found that some of my previous students know, I have seen that their project sometimes doesn't work, and they sometimes complain me, and the issue that I find is what they haven't saved it. They do the changes in the files, because we do like when we do frequently changes, right? So they don't save it. So please make sure that whenever you do some changes in a given file, you make it a point to save it. So even if you look at here, you can see here, can you see the here there is a mark, right? Like a circle, which is like a spot, white spot. So this means that it is not saved. I mean, I did some changes, but it has not been saved. So if you see, just the moment I save it, it is gone from there. Okay. So this is one indication I find, I mean, useful for me. Just see whether you also follow or you are able to do it. Okay, that way. Now, okay, I have created my app. I have to, I have registered that. That's also done. So the next thing that I need to do is, let's go to the models. Okay. And do remember that when I'm dealing with models, I should make sure to run two commands, right? One is, okay, forget about me saying this. What all commands should I use? Especially remember that I'm referring to the user model, okay? Not a model of my choice, but user model. What are the commands that I should run? Nothing. Anybody can reply, anybody who remembers.
So after creating models.
Yeah, so after I create some model, what should be, I mean, sorry, I didn't create any model. I'm not creating any model. Okay, I'm just referring to the user model. Okay, I have to do some changes with respect to the user model. That's it. So what should be the commands that I should run?
Create migrations, migrate.
Yeah, there you go wrong. I don't need to run the make migrations. Make migrations I need to run if I am going to create something of my own. Okay, if I'm not going to do that, I can just run the migrate command. That's it. Okay, so receiver. Yeah, one more thing. Okay, these signals, it is generated in a very quick frequency. Okay, so whenever you are doing this, make sure you like configure all of them together, and then you try to receive them. Otherwise, you may not like, if you are trying to do individually, you won't realize like how exactly is it working. Okay. So let's do this. .db .models .signals. Oh, so many things. Models. Since I missed that, I'm not getting signals. Yeah. So these signals no are actually predefined. Okay, so you'll find that all the names I can get it like this itself. So pre-save, then I want post-save, then I want pre-delete. Okay, then I want post-delete. Okay, yeah, done with all signals. Now understand this this one, no, this one I required mainly because I am going to like mention that I'm going to refer to the user model. Okay, no other model but the user model. That's the reason I required this one. This one is actually, I said, right, there are two ways of creating the connection. One is through the decorator. So this is going to help me with using the decorator. Okay, and now comes the mention of user model. So user model is what I'm going to refer, and the way we set it up, is using this. If you're using some other model, like whatever you have created, you don't need to do this kind of setting. Okay, this is only for the user model. Auth underscore user underscore model. Okay, done with this. Now I'll show you like how to create the connection. Before you create the connection, first thing that you have to do is to create the receiver. Okay, so let's create the receiver. As I said, receiver is nothing but a function, right? So receiver. Okay, and as I said, receiver is going to be different for each signal, so we'll give the name also accordingly. Okay, we give first maybe pre-save. Okay, pre underscore save. It is just to understand, okay, which receiver is going to respond or I mean take in which signal. Okay, so this is going to be the pre-save receiver, and I need to okay, now the receiver know what all parameters it is going to get in. Okay, so there will be sender, there will be instance. Do you people know about args, quarks? So sometimes no, it happens, right? In a given function, you don't know like how many inputs it may get. Okay, so that's when you go for args. Okay, so this star mark or the asterisk, which means that there can be arbitrary input. Okay, so that's when you mention this. And there is something like quarks. The spelling is actually it doesn't matter, you can give a different name. What matters here is the asterisk, the number of asterisk. So if you have two, what you mean is you mean by I mean you mean quarks, or you say keyword arguments. Okay, so keyword in the sense it is going to be key value pairs. Okay, I mean, what all kinds of input you are expecting, and since you are not sure like how many inputs are going to appear, you mention it this way. Okay, so there are some parameters, okay, which will be coming in. So since you are not aware like how many parameters can appear, so you mention it this way. So you can go for instance ID, then you can mention instance name. Okay, instance, actually not mere name, username, right? You will have a parameter like username, right? So that one, and you can say not saved yet, because pre-save means before saving it is going to be used, right? Since we have a decorator in place, you have to mention it this way. At the rate receiver. Inside this decorator, no, you have to mention two things. One is what signal you are going to receive. Another one is which is your sender. Okay, so like from which sender it is supposed to receive the signal. Okay, and which signal. So here the signal that we are concerned with is pre-save. That is first thing, and sender is going to be user. Okay, the user model. Yeah, so done with this. Other way of doing the same thing, right? In the sense only this part. Okay, instead of this decorator, another way of connecting is you just mention this function, okay, the receiver function. You can create the receiver function first, then you can mention a connection, okay, like the method I told you. There is a way of using it through method. So first thing is you mention the method, the signal that it is supposed to receive, okay. Then you mention dot connect method, okay, connect. In bracket you provide the receiver name and the sender name, okay. So here we have receiver name as pre underscore save underscore receiver, and sender what we have is sender is equals to user, right? Yeah, this one. So you can mention either of this, right? Either you mention this connect, okay, or you can make use of this decorator. Generally you will find that people make use of this decorator, okay, because anyhow you have to define the function, which is nothing but the receiver, okay, and you have to mention the connection, okay. That's all. So here all that is concerned is what signal it is supposed to receive, which is the user which is going to send the signal, okay. Now what I can do is I can just make use of the same thing. I can create the rest of the signals, okay. So I'm just going to copy this, and since one of this is only required, I'll just comment this for time being, okay. I don't need both connections, like multiple connections, right? So let me just okay, since for every signal I require, right? Yeah, and you will find something some interesting part about this, okay. And this could have only been of you could have only observed this if you have all of them, at least the pre and post together, okay. That's when you actually get to see the change. So make sure at least you have even if you're not creating all the signals, all receiver for all the signals, at least make sure that pre and post you are creating together, okay. Okay, now when we have post, there is like one more parameter that comes in picture, parameter, or you can call that to be a flag, okay. So there is some flag named created, okay. So I will mention that created, okay, and I need to change here as well. So it is going to be post save. Here also I'll make the changes. Post save receiver. So we have sender, we are having the instance created, and here we can say that, okay, yeah. So here we can have some if else condition, okay. So I'll just mention that if created. So if this is going to give me a like boolean output, okay. So either it will be true or false, okay. This flag can be either true or false. So if a given entry is created, it is supposed to provide me with all this, and okay, since it is post save, I can say created, okay. I'll just mention created over here, created, okay. And now you might be wondering, like, will there be a else case at all, right? Anyhow, there can be, and I'll tell you how. In fact, no, you if you see how it is working, no, you'll understand. I can just mention saved, okay. Yeah, let these parameters be as it is. I'm not going to change anything from that, okay. Now comes for delete, okay. So here, let me change it as pre-delete. First is pre-delete. Did I mention too many? No, this one, right? I think I just required pre-save, post-save, pre-delete, post-delete. There is an additional one, I think. While pasting, no, I pasted extra times. Anyhow, here also I'll mention delete. Okay, pre-delete. Sender instance. Okay, here you won't have created parameter, so will be deleted, I can say, or not yet deleted. Okay. will be deleted. Okay, and here I'll mention post delete, post underscore delete. Okay, here also I need to change it as post, and instead of save it should be delete. Okay, yeah, this is fine. Instance ID. Okay, deleted, I'll just mention deleted. Okay, so this is all about my signals. Okay, if you just see, all I have to do was I had to import some few things. So mainly what you need to import is the receiver. Okay, and this is because you are making use of this decorator, right? So that's why you require to import this. And then what you have is the signals. So you have to import these two things. Okay, then what you did, you had to define the receivers for each of the signals, right? So for pre-save you define one, for post-save, for pre-delete, for post-delete, and you also mentioned the username. Okay, sorry, the not username, the sender. Okay, who is going to send this? So that means a given receiver is going to only listen, or is only going to no receive the signal from this given user. Okay, I mean this given sender. Okay, so if some other model tries to send a pre-delete, this one won't receive it. Okay, it will only expect from the user model. If you try to send from other model, it won't receive. Okay, so understand accordingly, you have to create different receivers for different models and different signals as well. Now we do have some print. Now understand there are some print options, right? So these print will all happen at the terminal level. Now what we can do is two things we have to do since we are dealing with the user model. First command that we have to run is the migrate command, right? So Python manage.py migrate. Okay, done with this. The next thing that I need to run is I have to create a super user, right? So Python manage.py create super user. And who is going to be my super user? Me. Okay. Okay, my super user is created. Can you see? And do you see this? I already got the signal. Okay. And can you see? There are like two signals. I already received it. Can you notice that? Can you like guess from the like receivers we have created? Can you guess like which one has worked here? So just look at this one. Okay, we'll look at the first one. Okay, so it is mentioning none. Shweta, not yet. Sorry, not saved yet. Okay, so this is the one. If you look at this is the one. Okay, so this is what the pre-save signal. Okay, so pre-save signal first gives the instance ID. Remember that until and unless something is not created, it doesn't get a ID. Okay, so since it was a pre-save signal, that time ID was not created. Okay, so I didn't get a ID. Okay, and it was showing as none. The name is something, since we are providing it, so the name is coming as it is. The message that is not saved yet, it is coming as it is. Okay, then coming to the post save signal, right? Since it got created, so I have this post save signal wherein the first parameter it is displaying is the instance ID, which is 1, the instance username, which is Shweta, the message that is created. So yes, that is also appearing. So do you find that? I mean, don't you see this, that it is working, how nicely it is working? So we'll do one thing, we'll run the server, we'll try to create some few more entries, okay, few more users, and we'll try to observe these things. Okay, so for I see my laziness, height of laziness. Python manage manage.py run server. I was searching for this command actually. Run server. Okay. Okay. Let's go to Let's go to the admin page. Okay. Admin and did I forget the password already or what? Okay. I can be that way. Okay, now let's do one thing. Let's add some user, okay? And we can see for ourselves. So Sneha. And I think I have to even give some special symbol. Okay. Okay. So I have added some new user. Okay. So if I save this, okay. What is it? The password is too short. Okay. So if you don't have super user, no, this is the problem. Super user, no, can actually bypass all this rules and regulations. Okay, now this is created, right? Now let's see. Do we have the signal? Did we receive some signal? Okay, so can you see? I have got the signal. So the first time the none and all that is appearing because it was not saved. The moment it got saved, it has got an ID. The username is as it is. The message has changed from not saved yet. It has changed to created. Okay. Now we'll do one thing. Oh, just see. Okay. So there was, you might have seen that in post save, there were like two conditions given, right? One was if created and another one was else, right? So just have a look. This user is already created, right? All I'm going to do is I'm just going to click on the save button. Okay, that's it. Once again, I just clicked on save. So now if I look at this, let's see whether did I receive anything new. Can you see here? Can you see this? So this time what happened was I tried to save something which is already saved. Okay. So this time if you see the second message is not same as the earlier one. It is not showing me as created, but rather this time I got the message which is else, right? This time actually it didn't get created for the second time. Rather what it did, it just resaved it. It was already there, but the moment I clicked one more time on the save button, it has just saved it once again. Okay. And that's the reason in the pre-save, I'm getting the ID. Earlier it was not giving ID, right? But this time, since I saved something which was already there, already existing, so I get the ID, okay? And the message, since there was no if else condition, only single condition, so it is coming as it is, okay? So ID, username, and the not saved yet message. The second one, I got this else statement because it was not getting created for the first time, but rather I was just saving it for the second time. Getting this point? Are you people understanding? Is this making sense to all of you or not? If you don't understand it, I'll show you one more time. Okay, I think we can just go for one more thing, which is delete. Okay, so you can see how delete works. You people are getting it or not? Please tell me that. If I try to delete it, okay? So it is deleted, right? So if you look at this, can you see? Here also you get two messages. One is the pre-delete message, right? Pre-delete here, if you look at the receivers. So there is one for pre-delete, which says that instance ID, it gives the instance ID, which is 2 here. instance username, which is Neha here, will be deleted. So that is the message. Then post delete will give again instant ID instance username. So to Sneha is as it is. And this time the message has changed to deleted because it was a like after the action was performed, then the signal was sent. Okay, so it was a post delete. Are you people getting it? That there is a signal which is being sent just before the action is performed. There is a signal which is being sent just after the action is performed. Okay, so you can see the change in the message, right? And did you people understand how that save is working? So if something is already existing, right? If I just, I mean, even if I don't do any changes, but just I click on the save button, okay? Even that is a kind of action which is being performed. Can you see? That again tries to save the existing entry. Okay, this entry is already there, but it will try to save it one more time. Okay, so that's when it will even no, in that case also it will try to regenerate those two signals, which is the pre-save and the post-save signal. Okay, now here in this case I'm not performing any corresponding action. All I'm doing is trying to receive those signals. Okay, and just trying to print it. Okay, you do have a provision that if something like this is happening, then there is some corresponding action should be performed. If you want something like that, you can do that. Of course you can make use of this receiver. Okay, and you can program it that way. Okay, but as of now all I'm doing is just printing some statements. Okay, understanding? At least you people are understanding this? Yes,
Yes,
or
I
no?
do have one question.
Yeah.
So can you give an example where pre-delete and pre-save will be used?
So see, I mean, as I said, no, like sometimes no, like if you look at some say for example, there was some employee, okay, some employee who was working in your company. Okay, and there is a table which is keeping track of all the employees. Okay, now the thing is that employee left the company. So this given table is keeping track of all the current employees, and you are trying to keep track of their like salaries and all. Okay, now you don't need to keep it anymore. So you might have some other maybe a table which is keeping track of the old employees. So you want that it should be deleted from the new employee, in the table which is keeping the current employee information. Okay, you delete it from there, and you want that as a corresponding action, that entry should be no, like reflecting in the old employee table. Okay, so now this is one example. Okay, so
Okay.
similar things can be done using these no, these kind of signals. Okay,
Okay, got it.
understanding?
Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, all of you understood, right, how things are working, how signals are working? At least did you people understand like how these messages, I mean, are you able to understand these messages at least, like how the signal like pre-save, how is it is coming first and then post-save, and in the same manner pre-delete comes after the, I mean, then the post-delete is coming, why the ID is appearing when it comes to post-save, whereas pre-save it didn't appear, right? And the created one only comes in the first time. Okay, first time when something is getting created, that time the created flag will be true, the next time it will be false, and that's the reason it only appears as saved, doesn't show as created. Okay, so just do one thing, just try to experiment with this. Hopefully you will understand this, because it's not a difficult concept and very useful if you have to perform this corresponding actions, as in case of as I said, triggers. Okay, this is same as what you call a trigger. Okay, I mean the receivers can be like manipulated to act like a trigger. Okay, so okay, this is it. I'll stop the screen share, and let me even stop the recording.